friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Jen and I do cooking and canning videos, and sometimes I even post garden content. If that seems like the sort of thing that you'd be into, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today I'm going to be making Mexican street corn bowls. Now, I found this recipe on Cochina Republic's website, and we really love elote, so I thought I would give it a try and share it with you guys too. Now, I'll be sure to link the website where I found this recipe so you can go and get it or print it off if you need it as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off with some boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And because these chicken thighs had quite a bit of leftover fat and bits on them, I'm going to trim them up really well. I'm going to leave a little bit of the fat on there, but as you can see here when I'm finished, I did manage to get quite a bit of yucky extra fat, and we don't want that in our food. So just go ahead and trim up your chicken thighs. Now in a bowl, I'm going to add the chicken thighs and a couple tablespoons of some avocado oil. Now, I did this earlier in the day so that it would have time to marinate in the refrigerator. So just, 4 or 5 hours before you're ready to have dinner, go ahead and put this together. I'm going to add salt and pepper to my chicken thighs to taste, of course. Everybody's taste is different, and some people can't have as much salt as others, so just season it the way you want it. I'm also going to add some garlic powder, and I'm going to add some onion powder. Now, if you prefer, you can use fresh garlic. I just was taking shortcuts. This is a really easy to make meal. And so I just went ahead and took lots of shortcuts, and you'll see here just a minute what I mean. I'm also going to add some chili powder to this. I'm not going to give you measurements. You can find the original measurements on their website. And then I'm going to add the juice of a lime, a fresh squeezed lime, to this chicken. If you don't have fresh limes, just use the green bottle stuff. It's not a big deal. I just happen to have limes, so I'm going to go ahead and use them up. So once I get all that in there, I'm just going to go in with my hand and I'm going to massage this chicken really well and make sure that all of those seasonings are, evenly spread out. All of the chicken has a little bit of the seasoning on it. There's no big clumps down in the bottom of the bowl or anything. And when I see that everybody has a nice coating of those spices, all I'm going to do is go ahead and slap a lid on this. If you don't have a lidded bowl, just use some plastic wrap. And I'm going to put this in my refrigerator and I'm going to let it marinate all day long until I am ready to come back and cook dinner. Now, originally I had intended on cooking this chicken on the grill. But where I live, the weather can be pretty unpredictable, and by the time it was dinner time, a storm had rolled in. Of course, it's spring, the weather gets crazy. So instead of cooking this on the grill, I'm going to just put this onto a wire rack and I'm going to bake this chicken off in the oven. Feel free to use your grill if you want. Using your grill, in my opinion, just adds some wonderful charred bits to the chicken that you just cannot get from the oven. And it also cuts down on some of the mess and less dishes that you have to wash after supper. So, yeah, if it hadn't have been storming, I definitely would have grilled this chicken. But even though I cooked it in the oven, the flavor was still good. Now, I ended up putting this in the oven at 400 degrees and I left it in there for about 35 or 40 minutes, not quite. I just kept checking on it until the internal temperature of the chicken was 165 degrees and that let me know that it was cooked all the way through. If you're using bone-in chicken or other cuts of chicken, it may take a little longer for you to cook it all the way through just because chicken thighs tend to cook fairly quickly, especially if they don't have the bone or the skin on them. So just keep an eye on it. And if you don't have a meat thermometer, you can always cut into your chicken to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. So while my chicken was in the oven, I got all of the rest of the components for this dinner ready to go. And I had a red onion, so I went ahead and sliced this red onion kind of thin. You can dice it if you prefer. I just like the texture that the long strips of onions provide for the corn. So you can either dice this up or you can slice it thin like I did. Now, another shortcut I took was I got this frozen fire roasted corn. If it is summertime and you have access to sweet corn, 10 out of 10 recommend roasting your own, but that wasn't an option for me on this day. So frozen fire roasted corn it was, and this worked out perfectly. And You can heat this up on the stovetop, put it in a pan, but I was like, no, I am going to microwave this corn. I absolutely did take that shortcut. So I just put this corn in the microwave till it was cooked through. I also had my Instapot going with a load of white rice. So once my rice was done, I just fluffed it up a little bit with this big fork here. And then I had some more limes that I juiced off on the side. So I just add that lime juice and some freshly chopped cilantro directly to this rice. And then I cover it and set it to the side until I am ready to assemble my bowls. And it is that simple. I firmly believe that you should have your kitchen working for you while you are doing other things. So make your rice in the background while you're working on your chicken, and everything will be ready to go all about the same time. And just about the time I was finishing up with the rice, the timer went off on the microwave and the corn was done. So we're going to move on to this last little bit of the dinner preparation. So to this fire roasted corn, I am going to add some red onions. You can add as much as you like. I just did like a big handful. And I'm going to make sure that I pull all of these apart so nobody's getting like a gargantuan thick bite of onion when they take a bite from their bowl. And then on top of that, I am going to add some sour cream. Now, the original recipe does call for sour cream, but I think that if you have access to crema or creme fraiche at the grocery store, I would use that. It's a little runnier and not quite as thick, but use what you have access to. I'm also going to add some mayonnaise to this. I know that sounds odd, but that is in elote. Mayonnaise is one of the key parts of Mexican street corn. We're going to do a little more seasoning to this and add a couple more things. I am going to be adding some cotija cheese. If you can find this that's not pre-shredded, fantastic, use that. All I had access to was this pre-shredded, so that's what I'm using. And then I'm going to add a little bit of chili powder to this, and I'm also going to add some cumin. All of those things are to taste. If you don't like cumin, you can omit that from this recipe. And if you don't really care for chili powder, or maybe that's just a little too much heat for you, then you can omit that as well. Use some paprika instead. I'm going to give this all a really good mix till it's all incorporated. I'm going to swear under my breath because, again, I needed a bigger bowl and I just had so much faith that this glass bowl was going to hold all of this. But I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it all mixed up really well, and then I'm going to taste it, see if it needs any salt and pepper. Definitely want to taste your food as you go. And alter the seasoning of the salt and pepper. And then we're going to be ready to assemble these bowls. And the timing could not have been more perfect because just as I was finishing up with the corn, the chicken was done. So I just slice up one or two of these chicken thighs per bowl, and this is how I put this together. I just started off with a big bowl of that cilantro lime rice. Definitely, if you make the cilantro lime rice, use more cilantro. That's all I had. So on top of the rice, I'm going to put a big scoop of that elote, and as much as you want. I got some pretty hearty eaters in my family, so I really pile these bowls up for them, and I don't have a problem doing that. On top of the corn, I'm going to add the sliced chicken thighs. And then I'm going to serve this with a couple of wedges of fresh lime. It's delicious if you squeeze this over the top. Do not sleep on the extra lime juice. It really makes this dish come together at the end. I'm going to add a little bit more of that cotija cheese to the top of my chicken. And I'm also going to put a little dollop of sour cream on the top. If you're using crema, just a squirt of crema across the top of your chicken would be amazing. And if you have access currently to avocados, throw a couple slices of avocado on the top of this. And then go ahead and garnish it with the rest of your chopped cilantro. Now, obviously, if you don't like cilantro, if you're one of the soap people, leave the cilantro off your bowl. But yeah, that's how we're having this. And I almost forgot, if you happen to have a bottle of Tajín floating around, definitely top this with a little bit of Tajín seasoning. That's all I have for you today, friends. If you give this recipe a try, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you and your family thought about it. My family really enjoyed this, and it made some amazing leftovers the next day. So until next time, friends, happy cooking.